G'day, bird nerds. How are you? Oh, look, I've changed my camera around. I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. Now, this is cool. I hadn't noticed until just now, now that Loz is playing around. I've changed slightly the angle and I've taken down the green screen for today. Um, Loz is just in the periphery of the shot over here. So he's just here. So, I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. This is Monday with me, and depending on whether I have a guest or not, Mondays are pretty free flowing. Today, I'm going to spend a bit of time talking about um, how you can support the people that you like to pay attention to on the social media, who are doing good stuff in building awareness. You probably know that I already think there's plenty of awareness out there, but in supporting activism and some of the activities that can lead to positive outcomes in the conservation space. And of course, if we conserve places where birds live, we're preserving birds. If we do research on understanding how birds interact with the places that they live, we're preserving birds. We're helping birds. So that's it. Hello to all the lurkers, and I hope there's some members of the Riot Squad here today. Regular viewers and commenters are known by me, and hopefully by themselves, as the Riot Squad. I'm working on something for the Discord and doing something special for people to be involved. And I'm just looking at shifting over to how I produce the show, so that I can bring more interactive things in when we're going live. I also want to say, we'll just see if anyone's on Instagram. Yeah. Hello, Glenn, on Instagram. Instagram is a little bit behind. If you are on Instagram and you would like to join in and comment and do all those kind of things, just leave a comment. I will pop back and have a look. Instagram does things differently than all the other platforms that I stream to, in that they don't seamlessly meld. So I can't. It's not as easy to get your input. Let me know where you're listening to or watching from. That would be nice. And if you're a regular, say hello. That'd be cool too. Now, I don't remember. Actually, let me see when this was popped up. One day ago. So yeah, this popped up yesterday, and I thought this was sensational, fabulous. Oh, comment. Glenn's also on YouTube. Good on you, Glenn. Glenn's in Campbelltown, southwest of Sydney. A bit wet today, yes. I see that so much of New South Wales is getting lots of rain today. And updating plant databases. Nothing more fun, is there, than doing a bit of database work. Here we go. Here's Loz without the green screen. So there we are, Loz. Say hello. Loz is my housemate. Loz is my avian advisor, and he's got to get a lot of attention today, because tomorrow I'm interviewing Nicola Toki from, and I must get the pronunciation right. I'm not sure whether it's Toki or Tokai, from Forest and Bird in New Zealand. And rainbow lorikeets are a massive pest. They're an introduced feral pest species in New Zealand, and they're doing untold damage to some industries, but mainly to hollow-dependent birds in, as we know, in the wild when they're in excess numbers here and expanding their range. In Australia, they can be a massive problem. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll go over the story of Loz more another time for new people. Okay, without further ado, I saw this yesterday and I just thought this was bloody amazing. So I want to share it with you right now.
Hello, I'm from the Australian Government. Remember how we promised to fix our broken environment laws? Well, we need to talk about that. You see, our environment laws, aka the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act, were introduced by this desiccated coconut a quarter of a century ago, which probably explains why we're the world leader in mammal extinction and the only wealthy nation to be listed as a global deforestation hotspot, and why 19 of our ecosystems are collapsing, including the reef, which is currently dying in the arse of a warming ocean. And that is why our Environment Minister, a lovely lady who just wants to hug koalas, said enough. Our environment laws are broken and she promised to fix them. But actually, this act has been working just as the coconut intended, which was to greenlight the approvals of 740 fossil fuel projects since it was introduced. And to be honest, we fucking love that. Which is why, since inheriting those laws, not only have we not fixed them, we've kept on using them to approve more coal and gas projects. Except now we get to look sad and pretend we're forced to approve them because of our broken environment laws. So when Tanya gets a new coal or gas proposal, it goes something like this.
Don't you worry, Tanya will protect you. Oi, Tanya! Oh, hey, Santa. How can I help? Put that wombat down. I need you to approve 116 coal seam gas wells for us in Queensland. Oh no, the reef is undergoing its worst coral bleaching event on record. Burning more gas is going to make that worse. Oh, but my hands are completely tied by this darn EPBC Act, so approved. Oi, Dal, approve this extension to our coal mine, will ya? Oh, dang. We're already like the biggest exporter of coal on the planet, and even if that coal is burnt overseas, it'll still worsen the floods we're seeing here, but what can I do? Approved. Oi, sweet cheeks, can you chuck us an approval for this coal mine, will ya? And hurry up about it. Now I know that will cause more intense bushfires, but approved. Oi, Tam, here's another one. And can you also make us a sandwich, could you, hun? I suppose one new species extinction isn't too bad. Approved. Oi, lady, can you just approve?
And that's just the start. There's another 25 coal mines waiting on Tanya's desk for approval, like this one, which would clear 500 hectares of endangered koala habitat, and this one, which would clear even more. Oh, and that doesn't include all the gas proposals on Tanya's desk. And that is why environment groups have been begging us to insert a climate trigger in the EPBC Act. Is it a good idea? Sure, just ask Albo. 20 years ago, when in opposition, he introduced an amendment to the Act that would do just that. Take a look.
The Climate Change Trigger will enable major new projects to be assessed for their climate change impact as part of any environmental assessment process. We need action, and one of the actions that we need is this amendment to the EPBC Act.
Sadly, it didn't pass. But now that he's the boss of this government, Albo can finally fix our environment laws. There's just one problem. He's not the boss of this government. These guys are. And when we promised you we'd fix our environment laws, they quickly reminded us of that. Oi, punters politics. Tell them about that time Santos sent a letter to our Resources Minister, Madeleine King. It went something like this.
Oi, Mad Dog. Oh, hey, Santos. Why is Tanya reforming our perfectly good fossil fuel environmental law? I'm so sorry, Santos. Oh, what's this about First Nations winning a court case against Woodside? This could jeopardise our Barossa pipeline. How about I try and sneak a new law through Parliament so that even if reforms do come, they won't affect you? Do it. And maybe give it a long-ass name so no one suspects anything. How about the Offshore Petroleum and Greenhouse Gas Storage Amendment Safety and Other Measures Bill? Good job. So, did it work? Are we good to go? No, people worked out what I was doing and I had to pull the bill. Oh, come on, Mads. Oh, but don't worry. While everyone was looking into that, we approved your Barossa pipeline. Oh, good. And we'll reintroduce the sneaky bill when people have forgotten. You really are a sneaky, captured politician. Oh, thanks, Santos.
And what about that time the fossil fuel and mining lobbies called us up?
Oi, Tanya. Hey, guys. You have to shelve those EPBC reforms. Oh, we'll cop it so much from the public if we do. Just throw them an Environmental Protection Agency or something. But isn't the EPA pointless if we don't strengthen the laws that underpin it? That's the point. Also, remember to give yourself call-in powers so you can override the EPA's decisions whenever you need to. Wouldn't that undermine the EPA's independence? Come on, Tanya. It's good for the country. Yeah, remember? Fossil fuel companies are the backbone of the economy. Don't we collect more HECS from our broke-ass students than we do from our petroleum tax? Yeah, forgot about that. Piss week EPA with ministerial call-in powers. Got it? Got it.
But what really did it was that call we got from Woodside, or as some call it, the Western Australian Government.
She knows that I'm the Prime Minister, right? Oi, Albo. Oh, hey WA. Oh, sorry to hear about your forest dying due to climate drought. It looks really bad in the photo. Shut up. You need to shelve those EPBC reforms right now. But we promised to vote. You know we own this state, right? Yeah. You wouldn't want us to tell folks here to vote Liberal at the next election now, would you? No. Just saying, that might put you into minority government. That would be even worse than losing the reef.
And sure enough, the next day we announced that we won't be fixing our environment laws after all. But hey, here's a new Piss Week EPA with ministerial call-in powers. And yes, we know, the State of the Environment report said nature is dying. And sure, we blamed the previous government for a decade of inaction and willful ignorance. And we know you want this government to protect nature and take real climate action. Unfortunately, this government is captured in the arse by these guys. So if you want one that gives a shit about what you want, you'll have to elect a better one at the coming election. Till then, we'll keep pretending to be sad as we approve these 25 new coal mine proposals, which is a bit like crying while you're having a wank in public. You know it's wrong, but you just can't stop. Australian Government. Authorised by Paula, without whom the Juice Media would not have been possible.
What can you say, hey? What can you say? Thumbs up in the comments if you like me, just astounded at how well the Juice Media hit the nail on the head. That was just absolutely amazing, in my opinion. Okay, now, what do I want to go to now? What I really did want to talk about today is really how to get the most out of the time that you are spending. Oh, I think we've got good on you, Glenn. Well, Glenn's on Facebook as well. Glenn's everywhere today. Good on you, Glenn. Yeah. One of the things too about an outfit like Juice Media, I mean, let me see. That was popped out yesterday. So that was popped out yesterday, and it's had 106,000 views so far. They've got some great shirts out there too. They've got Department of Shitfuckery T-shirts and stuff out there as well. Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just going to have a look at some of their other vids. I'm not sure I'm going to play any of their other vids. Oh, actually, where's their... They've got some fantastic tourism ones, and they've got some really good British ones, US ones. Yeah, they're just really good. you remember we talked about the safeguard mechanism? Actually, I'm just going to get this one. Let's. We did do the safeguard mechanism once before, but I can't resist. Juice have got so many things right. Let's full screen them. The safeguard mechanism. Let's check this one out and then talk more about some of the news of the last few days.
Hello, I'm from the Australian Government. Last year, we legislated our 2030 emissions target, a symbolic achievement. But the real question now is, how will we reach that target? And today, we're here to unveil the policy that answers that question. Introducing the Safeguard Mechanism. After a wasted decade under the last government, we know you elected us to take real climate action. Thankfully, the shit party set the bar so low, we could come up with the shit light policy and you'd still applaud us for it. So that's what we've done. Safeguard Mechanism. To be honest, it's not even our policy. That's right. The best part of the Safeguard Mechanism is it's made from recycled materials, which we got from the previous government. It was brought in by this prick to safeguard the coal and gas industry. So we thought, hey, if it ain't broke, why fix it? So we just tweaked it, stuck our logo on it, and voila, reintroducing the Safeguard Mechanism, or as we call it, S&M, because it'll hurt the planet, make it all hot and wet, but you'll love it, because it's a Labor policy, except it's not. Fuck you. Safeguard Mechanism. If passed by Parliament, our repackaged shit-light Safeguard Mechanism will safeguard the coal and gas industry for the rest of this decade. Because let's be clear, the only way humanity currently knows how to reduce actual emissions is simple. Stop fucking digging up new coal and gas, which is why the science says that's what we must do. Does the Safeguard Mechanism do that? Yeah, nah. That's why we still have over 100 new coal and gas projects awaiting approval. All the Safeguard does is force them to buy carbon credits to offset their emissions. Not all their emissions, just a tiny bit of another tiny part of their emissions. Which might sound like an incentive until you remember fossil fuel companies made this much profit last year alone. So the cost of buying credits to avoid reducing their actual emissions comes to approximately fuck all. Does the Safeguard at least limit how many credits they can buy? No, which means our mates can even increase emissions, pay to offset them with credits and still claim to be net zero. Given our climate policy relies entirely on carbon credits, it would be a real shame if those credits turned out to be bullshit. Thankfully, we just held an inquiry into their integrity, and who better to appoint to it than people linked to the carbon credit industry? But don't worry, the inquiry looked at all the evidence from the ANU, evidence the inquiry itself commissioned, even evidence from companies that sell carbon credits, all of which suggests they're mostly bullshit, and then concluded they're essentially sound, cool and normal. By now you're probably wondering, if our policy to reach our 2030 target doesn't stop new coal and gas projects, doesn't reduce most emissions from existing ones, lets them buy infinite credits to offset emissions with credits that don't offset emissions, does it really do anything? Oh, sweetie, sure it does. It distracts you with bullshit so our mates can keep making the ching-ching for the rest of this decade. Australian Government. New government, same climate shit fuckery. Authorised by the Department for ensuring our 2030 target is a floor, not a ceiling.
Thank you to all our patrons for making the Honest Government ads possible, especially...
I'll stop that there, but I would encourage you, if you have the wherewithal, if you have the ability, head over to patreon.com, The Juice Media, and become a patron. Now, something just came to mind when we were watching that is, how do you feel about the bad language in the Juice Media presentations? So I've got to say, one of the most common things, this really ties into the conversation I want to have now about becoming a positive vector for action, for to helping, shift, move the needle, shift the Overton window. Let's choose a let's choose a cliche. First, tell me this, folks. Would you consider yourself as somebody who is passively consuming messaging information about conservation, and birds, talk about birds. So are you passively just letting it all come in, or are you active in spreading the message and seeking out, lots more information? Let's start there, because that's what I would really like to know. And then a second thing I would like to know is how do you prefer the information to be delivered to you, to be conveyed? If you're regular here, you know that I'm completely frustrated by the way things are done, continually done, because I'm not somebody who actually believes we're shifting the needle very much, and certainly not doing it quick enough. And I'm at a loss. I really would love to be more encouraged. There's so much amazing, well, I'm overusing the word amazing, aren't I? Really important and useful research being done. But then we have a look at what happened at, I think it was the last COP, wasn't it? That, guess what's exempted from all the emissions recording and the emissions targets? Military stuff. And have a look at the way just the US and Australia operate. Anytime there's a budget squeeze on, which is now, they're all looking to reduce the pitiful amounts of money that are given to social programs. But there's unbelievable amounts of money that can get found for military pursuits. So let's sort of put the ethics or the right and wrongs of supporting particular military engagements. But how many US bases are around the world? I think it's over 300, isn't it? And all of the activities supporting them, and all of the practice munitions that get exploded, and everything that goes along with that, and every other military in the world, those activities are exempt from all of our climate targets. They're not counted. So why are we worrying about where our plastic toothbrushes are being recycled? Now, I'm not saying plastic isn't a big problem, but I get really frustrated with the emphasis on what you and I do. And we're not the ones with the power to change the bloody world. Anyway, let's go back. Are you a passive or an active sort of media consumer? Hello, Loz. You want to come over? You can come over. And how do you like that information to be presented to you? The reason I ask that question is frequently I get comments and correspondence about, oh, they wish I was less aggressive, or they wish that I was, that I was, well, not sweary, not very sweary, I think is the best way we could talk about that. And my personal thoughts with that are, I never see those people interacting in my comments, sharing things, liking things otherwise. So I'm not actually sure that they are people who are willing to engage with other people to try and affect change, to try and make change opinions, and then change. Let's talk electoral politics, change voting intentions, and certainly not prepared to go out and pressure people. So I'll just leave that one up in the air for a moment. Now I want to head out to some of the things that I would like. I'd like you to be aware of. Now, as you know, one of my favourite Twitter / Twitter / X correspondents, Jung In Chi, is promoting this petition. And if we go to David Obura, there's laws in Kenya. Can you believe it, that actually work against being a seed saver and a seed collector? So this is a Greenpeace Africa petition. Kenyan government, scrap laws that jails Kenyan farmers for sharing indigenous seeds. An outrageous law stops smallholder farmers in Kenya from using indigenous seeds to exchange them with other farmers, an age-old tradition. To make it worse, these farmers face a prison sentence of up to 2 years or a fine of up to 1 million Kenyan shillings or $8,000 if they break this punitive law. All the while, big companies are profiting, flooding Kenya with seeds. The government needs to protect Kenya's farmers from big corporations. Kenya's government should amend these seed laws now and allow the sale, exchange and sharing of indigenous seeds and integrate local farmer seed management into law. This just seems to be bonkers, but also completely expected. Monsanto suing a Canadian canola farmer for saving his seed from his crops, crop after crop, and then planting those. But because at some time he bought seed from Monsanto, or from a Monsanto company that had been genetically engineered to resist the effects of Roundup, they sued him. That was a very long fight. Now he had to settle with Monsanto, so there was no precedent set that protected farmers for canola, but it did followed on spread out to other crops like wheat, so people were able to save their own wheat seed and go on. It's actually not just one case; it's a series of cases. But once these multinational global corporations are defeated in one jurisdiction, they move on to growth areas like Kenya. So please get involved in this. Oh, why? Here we go. There we are. So this is Greenpeace. You'll find it at pages.greenpeaceafrica.org. Seed is sovereign. So I will be signing that later on, and I would encourage you to as well. Now let's come back to here. Oh, Glenn's got a comment here too. So Glenn's a bit of both, a passive and active. Glenn, I always appreciate when you're commenting and whatnot on my stuff. And Glenn doesn't mind if I'm being a bit sweary. Okay, that's good. Now, what I want to talk about this idea of liking and commenting and everything. What I really want to let you know about how the algorithms work based on sort of interaction. And liking is the least effective way of helping push someone into the algorithms. The most effective way is to comment and share. And by share, I don't just mean, like, for instance, on Twitter, retweeting or reposting. It's actually sharing something out into your other social media platforms. So it takes a little bit more effort, but it really, really pays off. So if you are on other platforms, and I'm not necessarily talking about me, although I'd love you to be amplifying my message and anything you find of any use or interest that you think other people would benefit from being exposed to. Take the time to push it to other places, because that helps the message break into new funnels. And these things are really funnels. Funnels and bubbles. It's very hard to break into new things when you just keep doing the same thing. Actually, while we're chatting, I just want to have a look at I'm going to have a look at my podcast stats, and I'm also going to have a look at my YouTube stats. Now, when I have a look at the bird emergency, oh wow, look how so many of my I'll fix that afterwards. Now, if I look at the show stats for the bird emergency, well, I might see how many new countries we've got to. Okay, they're not ranked that way. Hold on, just they've changed the way the stats are done. Here we go. Now that's... Okay, sorry for the dead air, folks. Just having a look at so well since so different. They've changed all the. Let me have a look. Episodes. Sort. Okay, that's not finding me out anything. Sorry about that, gang. I'll need to do a deep dive into that. What I was wanting to share, before I'd gone away with Millie, despite having years of talking about bird conservation and speaking with bird researchers, the two top shows that I had done in the podcast feed, not YouTube, not live streaming, but released into the podcast feed, were Martin Ty talking about degrowth and speaking with Gregory Andrews, who was the former Threatened Species Commissioner, the inaugural one, and talking about the sort of problems with policy. And it's just a bit surprising that that's where the where the ears were. Now I'm just going to have a look at my analytics for YouTube, and okay, so even though it's only been out for a few days, when I do a video that is titled Biodiversity Catastrophe and Climate Emergency, the one we did the other day with Myron Ballet, that performs almost twice as well as Claire Neames, Fiona from Mallee Conservation with Habitat Gardening. Habitat Gardening is actually really, really, really popular. The parrot one. The parrot one was good. But my click through rate, which is wow. I can get very good click through rate when nobody watches. Oh no, bird emergency news. That was on the lorikeet disease. That went really well. Plants flowering in winter. So that if I take that out to 90 days, what do we look at? So I mean, Photography Friday and Habitat Gardening perform really well, but then it's all of the Jacinta Humphrey and one of the Hollies went pretty well, but nearly always it's the issues based stuff that that performs the best. So I don't know. So I don't want to be one of those people that is completely captured by their audience, but by the same token, I'm much happier when people are watching and listening, and then perhaps finding things in other ways. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm not really too sure what I want to go with, where I want to go with that. All right, a bit more news. Again, brought to you by Young and Chi on Twitter. Shell sold millions of carbon credits tied to carbon capture and storage that never took place, selling emissions credits for reductions that never produced a technology that never happened from a technology that doesn't work, and pocketing the profits must be peak greenwashing. And this is from the Financial Times. Thank you, Asad Razzouk, who has written a book. I probably should be following this person, so let's do that. A book, Saving the Planet Without the Bull. Oh, he's got a podcast. Okay, that I probably should reach out. Although, what's he got? Followers. 161 followers. 161,000 followers. He's not going to look at my email. So this is in Canada. Shell sold millions of phantom carbon credits. Subsidy scheme in Alberta allowed oil major to register carbon credits equivalent to twice the volume of CO2 captured. And it's raising new doubts about a technology seen as crucial to mitigating greenhouse gas emissions. I mean, it's about time we just said it doesn't work, aren't we? What's this? That's an interesting cartoon there, isn't it? Now, 20 hours ago, this is a tweet from Asad Razzouk. We don't have time for voluntary carbon credits. CO2 indulgences created 20 years ago to transition companies to actually reduce emissions by now. Cancel voluntary carbon markets. I argued in episode 48 of the Angry Clean Energy Guy podcast. I like that he's angry. And then here's a cartoon of people sitting around a boardroom table with the head of the table, the guy, notably the white guy in the suit. Every tree we plant, we offset some of the carbon from all the hot air we produce, talking about how sustainable this makes us. And that's how I feel. And that's Tom Fishburne did that cartoon. I haven't heard of him, but that's pretty cool. Okay. Some good work here from Tom Fairman. How an unprecedented wildfire shaped tree hollow occurrence and abundance implications for arboreal fauna. This is about hollows for gliders, and mainly greater gliders. In the absence of excavating fauna, hollow formation can take up to 200 years in Australian temperate eucalypt forests, making tree hollows a critical but slow-forming habitat feature. The increasing frequency and severity of wildfires due to climate change has led to increased concern about the landscape-scale loss of nesting space for arboreal fauna, including endangered species such as the folivorous southern greater glider. To understand patterns of nesting resource availability, we assess drivers of hollow occurrence in southeastern Australia, mixed species eucalypt forests, and quantified the effects of an unprecedented large-scale wildfire, the 2019-2020 Black Summer bushfires, on hollow occurrence and abundance. Conclusions. Our findings suggest that post-fire nesting space may be reduced at the tree scale, while the stand scale hollow-bearing trees persist as biological legacies. These persisting trees can support the recovery of hollow-dependent arboreal fauna, such as the endangered southern greater glider, by providing denning and nesting space. Hollow-bearing trees that survive the fires have the potential to form new hollows faster compared to undisturbed mature trees. Well, that's interesting. Very interesting. That's an open access article. Springer link. If you look for Tom Fairman, actually it's Benjamin Wagner. Benjamin Wagner, Patrick J. Baker, and Craig Nitschke. there we are. Published just the other day. I'm not sure I'll be going into that. Okay, so Tom Fairman is from where? Flare Wildfire. Okay, that was pretty interesting. Just looking for what else I was wanting to tell you about. This is something that is worth checking out too. Rewilding. No, we won't talk about that. This will surprise you. Jared Kushner is planning a luxury resort for near the mouth of the Vosges River. Is that right? Vosges River, the last wild river in Europe. Critics say the plan would be ruinous for wildlife in the river delta. Anyone surprised by that? There is some good news out there. Michigan Department of Natural Resources and Ottawa County Parks and Recreation. Audubon Great Lakes plans to revitalise 6 acres of wetlands and 3,300 feet of shoreline. So what's that? 1,000 metres. A kilometre. Once used for mining operations to provide habitat for birds and increase climate resiliency for local community. So it's good that I'm always supportive of all these local projects, but can we just stop stuffing up everything to start with? This had me intrigued. This is from Audubon Society, again in the US. Many states allow homeowners to grow native plants for birds on their property. Does that mean many states don't let them grow native plants on their property? I've reached out to Audubon. I really want some clarification on that. So the whole tweet. Many states allow homeowners to grow native plants for birds on their property. Still, in many places, grass lawns are the mandated norm. Read how Audubon and partners work with local policymakers and homeowner associations to support bird-friendly yards. Now, I can certainly get my head around that some homeowners associations, like in the equivalent of strata title bodies and gated communities, say everyone must have a nice front lawn or something. But are they seriously not able to plant a native plant? Anyway, we're going to be. I have reached out. Hopefully, we'll get to know more about that shortly. Now, this is something interesting too, isn't it? It's now fairly well understood that plants can communicate with each other. They can communicate with each other about threats, summon help from predatory killers, and some can even count. But does this mean plants are conscious? A brain is the only way to build a mind. Food for thought from Zoe Schlanger in The Guardian. Should plants be given rights? Should plants be given rights? Oh, come on. I do this every time. Should plants be given rights? What new botanical breakthroughs could mean? So philosophers, this is really, really interesting. Well, I think it's really interesting. Last month at a gathering at New York University, the same place where cops arrested a whole bunch of students the other day, a group of prominent biologists and philosophers widened the perimeter of a very exclusive club. They declared that there is a realistic possibility that insects, crustaceans, and fish experience consciousness. This was an expansion of an earlier declaration made in 2012 in which researchers asserted that mammals and birds were capable of intentional behaviour and had all the physical markers of conscious states. Consequently, the weight of evidence indicates that humans are not unique in possessing the neurological substrates that generate consciousness, they concluded. The official consciousness list, or realistic possibility of consciousness list, now includes all vertebrates, including all reptiles, amphibians and fishes, many invertebrates, including, at minimum, cephalopod mollusks. Now that's interesting. That's abalone. That's your garden snail, right? Cephalopods are the ones that basically have everything in their body above their 1 foot. So abalone, limpets, snails, as I said, even things like cone shells and whatnot, I think are cephalopod mollusks. Decapod crustaceans. So I think decapod crustaceans are like crabs and prawns and stuff. And insects. Lizards have been shown to learn how to navigate mazes, suggesting behavioural flexibility, an often used marker of intelligence. Bees are able to distinguish between styles of art, engage in play, and perform an elaborate, symbolically rich waggle dance that tells their hive mates precisely how far and at what angle to the sun to fly to find food. Scientists suggest bees may have the capacity to feel, perhaps denoting consciousness. I won't go right through more of that. I really want to follow that up more. What do you reckon about that? Hey, what do you reckon about that? That's pretty amazing. And look, if that bears out, doesn't that place some really interesting dilemmas about how we would structure the production of food into the future? Ben Pennings. This is something I was really interested in, and this is another another. Go back. Here. Ben Pennings, environment campaigner, currently being sued in the Supreme Court by Adani, member of Queensland Greens Services Union, and is with the Media Entertainment Arts Alliance. Ben Pennings. Energy companies are installing technology that could stop researchers from identifying methane pollution. Please take 2 minutes to tell Minister Bowen to make companies do the right thing in Australia. You can volunteer with me too, he says. Now it's a Queensland Conservation link we're going to. Methane, the silent killer. Oh, I need to share the link. Oh, here we go. Methane, the silent killer. This is Queensland Conservation Council. What's the big deal about methane? Methane is a super pollutant greenhouse gas, 86 times stronger than carbon dioxide over a 20-year period. So more injurious. Responsible for a third of global heating to date, methane is turbocharging the climate crisis towards global boiling. This threatens our lives and livelihoods, our communities and precious places. Methane's short-term potency is also an opportunity. Slashing methane emissions as quickly as possible is the fastest way to slow global heating. The UN estimates that human-caused methane emissions could be reduced by 45% within the next decade. This would stop nearly 0.3% of global warming by 2045, helping limit temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Now, this is an email. You can sign up here for an email to Chris Bowen, the Minister for Climate and Energy in Australia. And the whole letter is there. When you do a letter like this, I might encourage you to read through the wording and change bits of it so that when their software analyses it, as they do, it shows as a unique contribution rather than like a form letter. Okay, let's go through. I want to find the good news. Here we go. This is just some monitoring of the of lapwings, finished breeding lapwings. Rishi Sunak, British Prime Minister, to allow oil and gas exploration at sites intended for offshore wind. I mean, the shit fuckery just never ends, really. Karina Nebel, postdoc fellow, University of Turku in Finland. New paper alert. My newest research shows that white-tailed eagles living near wind turbines have lower survival than those that do not, likely because of higher collision risks. Now, I've reached out, hopefully be talking to them. Tasmanian Land Conservancy doing amazing work in Tasmania. This is one of the places, one of the times that private conservation efforts I can really get behind, because it actually locks up land that is of high ecological significance, high value. So they're promoting what they're up to there in the Central Highlands of Tasmania. Violent attacks around the world. Hello, Stan. How are you? I saw you. I saw your recent trip, Stan. Very, very, very cool. You're certainly getting the mileage out of your EV, your Polestar. Polestar, yeah. Good to have you on board. Violent attacks against environmental journalists on the rise. This is horrific, what's going on around the world. I'll just get into the Guardian again. UNESCO joint research dating back 15 years found violence and intimidation against about 750 reporters and 44 murder. It's pretty horrific. And where these things are happening is in the countries where deforestation is rapidly occurring. Two that come to mind: Cambodia and Brazil, and also in Vietnam, Malaysia. I mean, we're not really having a crack at the journalists here, but we're making it almost impossible for people to take direct action. Stan tells us, having a good time on the road. I met some bird watchers from WA, Western Australia, who came over to check out South Australia birds. Did they go? Where were they going? To Gluepot, I'm guessing. Let us know. Okay. Canada geese behaviour. I want to talk about that too. Look at that. Phalaropes. Just the story. Another day, another failed carbon capture and storage project. Failure occurred despite massive government subsidies. That's in Canada. Edmonton Capital Power Council's $2.4 billion carbon capture project. Royal Society for the Protection of Birds. May, they are promoting No Mow May. No Mow May. So, and look, I talked about this ages ago in Habitat Gardening, and we need to get back to it. We need to return to it. You don't have to have paving that is all paving. You can put lawn or treadable garden squares in amongst your pavers. So there we go. Look at that. So I've reached out to so many people to talk to for lots of good new stuff. Western Australia. State government funds more fossil fuel exploration in Kimberley's Canning Basin. Hottest, driest summer ever in Western Australia, where forests are collapsing due to the lack of water and the unusual heat. And we just go, yeah, no worries. More. I think we might...
biodiversity framework, through it is only by investing in planet Earth that we can safeguard our future. It is time for the world to adopt an ambitious biodiversity framework, a true peace pact with nature, to deliver a green, healthy future for all, and I thank you.
Okay, so humanity's war on nature is ultimately a war on ourselves. It's time for the world to adopt a far-reaching biodiversity framework, a true peace pact with nature, and deliver a green, healthy future for all. If you want to get a whole lot of information that obviously I can't keep up with everything, Mike Houdema is really, really, really good to follow on Twitter. So if you don't already follow Mike, I suggest you do.
It is only by investing in planet Earth that we can safeguard our future.
Thanks, Antonio. Thanks very much. Yeah. Now Stan's giving us an update. They're heading to the Eyre Peninsula. Fantastic place. York Peninsula, Eyre Peninsula, Coorong. Did some bird life surveys on the WA agriculture land on the way over. I did a bird data survey on the weekend. I'm trying to get back into the habit trying to go and do one every day. I'll play this World Economic Forum tweet, even though I'm a bit. Okay, can we see that? Here we go. Just let that one run. I'm going to now go back. Just going to go back to some of the things I was talking about today. Now, Now, this is a post that I retweeted today, or an article that I saw. Sorry, I think I did. I think I didn't retweet it. Let's just go back. So this is the story here is that scientists are using steel webs to regrow coral reefs in Indonesia with impressive results. The story goes. It's from BBC Wildlife. New research in Indonesia has found that a simple yet clever device to help restored coral reefs grow as fast as healthy reefs after just 4 years. The study carried out by the University of Exeter and partners and published in Current Biology took place off the south coast of Sulawesi, where vast areas of coral reef were decimated in the 1980s and 90s by blast fishing, a destructive practice that uses explosives to stun schools of fish. And it's insane what we do, isn't it? Researchers looked at the work of the Mars Coral Reef Restoration Program, which has been restoring reefs using networks of reef stars, hexagonal, sand-coated steel frames transplanted with coral fragments from healthy reefs. Reef stars work in two ways. They provide a structure on which coral can grow and stabilise coral rubble, pieces of dead coral on the seabed that would otherwise move with the tides. The rubble impedes development of new reefs as baby corals cannot grow on unstable structures or substrate. So that's a good story, and I put that out there today and got lots of retweets and people saying, yeah, this is good, and sharing it, but bearing in mind that helping recover, fix up physically busted reefs is one thing, but the big problem with reefs is still we're boiling the ocean. Now, where's the other thing I wanted to show you today? There's the bit about the vapes and everything. I think that's about all I want to do in terms of showing off some news and stuff. I'll just flick through and see if there's anything else that's popped up that here's a good one from this is up Dave Watson today. 1 hour ago. Tricky enough for this field biologist to get through a day of paperwork and online meetings, but now I'm hearing swift parrot flight calls wafting through my open window. Well, how cool is that? We'll give Dave a repost on that one. So that looks like the Home Office. Yeah, fantastic. So Dave's up near Albury. So on the border of New South Wales and Victoria. And of course, Dave is Professor of Ecology and an ornithologist at Charles Sturt University. And Dave will be with me. I can't remember. Is it 1 o'clock or is it... it's either midday or 1 o'clock on Wednesday. I can't remember without looking at the board. So you can hear Dave. I'll have to talk to him about Swift Parrot, won't I? But we're talking about mistletoe, busting some of the myths and legends about mistletoe. Just want to say hello to everyone on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter/X. All right. Now, would you like me to talk about would you like me to tell you about some of my favourite places where I am getting media from? Information from? Would you interested in that? I like Dave. I'm just checking out Dave Watson's desk. I'm really liking the way he's got one monitor tipped vertically. I really want a third monitor that I tip vertically. Anyway, Novara Media. If you're on YouTube, Novara Media, also Owen Jones. Zateo is a new media group that Mehdi Hassan has begun, and he's got Greta Thunberg is one of his regular contributors who has joined this new network. Really, really good lineup of people being involved in that. They're just three that I would suggest that if you are interested in some information that comes through unfiltered. Glenn says, yes, always interested in where the info comes from. Okay. So these are the ones I would recommend. Let's stick to a few today. Bearing in mind, most of the people that I'm referring to will do fairly long form video the same way that I do, and podcasts. So it's a bit of an investment to actually watch and listen. But good on you, Loz. Loz likes the goatee. Very happy about the goatee. Good on you, mate. Novara Media, UK based, so you'll get a lot of UK information, but they have a lot of people who are across a broad spectrum. So there's a lot of good opinion on there, I think, but they're well researched. I get really jealous every time I watch them, and I think, oh, I know they've got an editor and they've got someone producing their show, and it would be much easier. Oh, excuse me. And I'm yawning because I get up at an insane hour every morning, and I watch 3 or 4 hours of information, and I read journal articles and stuff every day, and I take Shadow for a walk. And then by sort of 8 o'clock, by about 8 o'clock, I'm then writing emails and trying to confirm guests and all that kind of stuff. So I start very early to do all this for you because it takes time. It takes a lot of time, as Loz knows. Plus, Loz has to get up between 6 and 7 every morning. The bird needs a very regular going to bed and getting up schedule, as he would if he was out in the trees. He would go to bed when it was dark and he would get up when it's light. So I try and keep him on that schedule here. What are you doing, Loz? You over there? You coming over here? Come on. He's on the mic arm now. Owen Jones. Excuse me. Owen is also a UK-based journalist. He's also part of Zateo. He was part of Novara, but he's moved over to Zateo Media, and he has his own platform. So if you just search Owen Jones, you'll find him pop up everywhere, and he's really he had family ties he's from the north of England. He now lives in London. He's had family ties in Labour politics in the UK, but he is now very much looking at independent candidates, the Greens, but he's very much like me, and I guess like so many of you. We don't want the Conservatives back in power, but we don't want an unfettered Conservative light Labor Party. So, from an Australian perspective, right, all the stuff about, what went on in Blackpool South in their by-election is not important. But the strategies and the trends that are evolving worldwide, that's important stuff to know. It can help you, can really help you in the way you think about your approach to electoral politics, and whether that's local or, good on you, Loz, local or state or national, or if you're in Canada, provincial, or, talking counties or whatever. Anyway, I think there are really good places to begin. If you want to get a fairly leftist perspective with an eye on technology and social media, Matt's great for this. Matt Binder, at Matt Binder on Threads and Twitter, YouTube. Matt does 2 shows on YouTube that I always enjoy. Well, he's 2 of his own and 1 that he's a part of, and actually 2 that he's a part of. Matt was a producer for many years on The Majority Report. He now appears 1 day a week on the Majority Report, which is my go-to show for American information. I check that out every day on YouTube at Majority Report. Matt also does a show called Doomed, which is really about, well, it's very broad about what he talks about, but it's generally sort of about how the economics, politics, social media, tech, they all operate in a way which is dooming us. And he also has a show called Scam Economy, which has focused a lot on Web 3, is it Web 3.0, NFTs, cryptocurrency, but everything around the sort of, AI, about how so much of it is a con. And I love your skepticism about that there's no real use case for so many of the stuff we're talked about. Matt is a journalist for Mashable, so he knows his stuff, right? So Matt's great. Who else did I want to let you know about? Another on YouTube, if you like a bit further left Reckoning. 2 hosts on that show, Matt Leck, who is a producer on The Majority Report, and what's Dave's surname? Matt's from North Dakota, transplanted to New York, and Dave, I can't remember Dave's surname, but Dave's in Texas, so a lefty in Texas. And if you want some international information, really good historical and political, philosophical, and history, real world stuff from maybe the last second half of the last century into this century, The Michael Brooks Show on YouTube again. Also as a podcast, you'll find The Michael Brooks Show as a podcast. Sadly, Michael's been, I think, 3, maybe 4 years since Michael died, tragically. But one of the sharpest minds when it comes to international relations, and the historical context for so much of the conflicts that are going on around the world. Great South, and really the imperial nature of the US, colonial history. Michael Brooks is fantastic and funny too, super funny. Okay, folks, I think that's about all I've got for you today. Just encouraging you to cast your view wide. Or actually, I'm not inviting you to cast your view wide. I actually think there's a whole lot of stuff that is out there that you can just ignore. I don't open anything from 9. I watch the 7 News because my housemate likes the 7 News. So I watch Channel 7 stuff. I rarely will watch anything from the ABC unless it's specifically about a topic that I'm interested in. The Australian, don't bother. Sky News, I don't bother. Because you know where they're coming from before they even start. And in most cases, they often they'll talk about a headline of something, but they don't talk about what's actually in the article or what actually happened. They just have an agenda to push that is, it's the agenda of Rupert Murdoch. And Rupert Murdoch and Lachlan, they're less open about it in Australia, and indeed in the UK, beg your pardon, that they don't actually say we want a conservative government. And they're not openly saying that here in Australia, but in the US, they created Fox News to make sure Republicans got elected. So we shouldn't even pretend that anyone writing for these places and appearing on these programs in these, I mean, Channel 7 bankrolled Bruce Lerriman, Ben Roberts-Smith. There's countless others, but it's just hopeless. It's just hopeless. So, reach out. Now, all of these people I'm talking about have massive platforms compared to me. Now, what I'm going to be doing, I want to tell you about this. I'm shifting all the habitat gardening stuff while the streams will still be going on to the bird emergency. The streams will start, but then I will boot you all over to the Habitat Gardening with Grant YouTube channel because I want to get the algorithm less confused about what I'm about. So we're going to try and keep conservation, bird stuff, bird emergency more into bird stuff. And I'm reaching out to many more people who are sort of fellow travellers in the political and activist space. And a lot of those interviews will probably appear on a different YouTube channel. I did used to have a podcast called Not Just Another Podcast, and I'm going to reinvigorate that. Oh, thanks for that, Loz. Wasn't really waiting for that. So I might be encouraging you to shift, and I'm trying to make it easy if you want to stick with me, but I also want to make what I do easier for the algorithms to work out where to throw my stuff, because I think that's part of the problem of getting cut through, which is why I would really love you to share stuff rather than just like it. I'd love you to comment, and I would love you to share stuff. Get it in front of different people. Now, Stan thanks for all the great suggestions about who to follow. I've blocked all the conservative media from my Google News feed. I don't watch any normal TV, only YouTube. I still watch some stuff so that I can see how crap it is and so that I can see what the messaging is. For instance, and just think about the news, right? In Melbourne, I don't know if it's the same in all regional centres and whatnot, but here in Melbourne and Sydney, I know it's the same. We get an hour of news at 4 o'clock, and then we get an hour of news at 6 o'clock. We have different presenters, but essentially, yesterday, 70% of both news bulletins was crime and stuff like someone was hit in an intersection, blah, blah, blah. Now, it's not really news, except that someone got footage on their camera, on their mobile phone, and there is visuals that they give to the networks. So a whole lot of crap, which in days gone by would never have been news. It would never have been given to us, except, Stan, page 12 of the local rag would say, woman was injured in a smash at an intersection. That's how much you would get. You would blah, 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 and she's was sent to hospital but released later and she's fine, right? That's what we would get, half an inch of column inches. And now it's 3 minutes in 2 news bulletins. It's just bullshit, but it's actually pushing these narratives. And people say, oh, you're being a conspiracy theorist. No. If you push this shit about crime, and all the statistics say that we're safer. I actually looked up something. I was having a discussion with my housemate because I had been fed. I had believed that domestic violence was worse now than 10, 15 years ago. No, it's not. I'm not saying it's not a problem, and I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing anything about it. The statistics, though, for women in domestic who are, I've got to be careful about how I phrase it because it'd probably be wrong. Less people are killed by their domestic partner than 10, 15 years ago, and less people are severely injured. But when statistics were collected years ago, there was a different framework about how people understood the problem. And so it's very easy. Again, this is concern washing. Governments do this. Oh, we're going to do all this stuff. Why don't the governments just get together and make it easy for a girl who meets a bloke at a pub or a nightclub or at a house party or whatever, or at a music festival, and she thinks, oh, he's nice, or he, whichever partner, and they start seeing each other very early on in the formative part of the relationship. They should be able to find out if the person's ever had an AVO against them, or if they are someone who has been on a register. They can find out if they're a pedophile, but they can't find out if they hospitalised their mother or their child or their first wife. To me, that seems like a logical first step. People should be able to say, hey, they should be able to decide to discontinue a relationship with someone before the first time they've been punched in the face. That's what I reckon. Anyway, now, what else has Stan said? So I'll pop that up again. Thanks for all the great suggestions about who to follow. I blocked all conservative media from my Google News feed. I don't even look in the Google News feed, but I do. I'm an Apple user, and I get the Apple News feed, which in many cases is quite interesting. And I look at it on my phone. I try not to pollute my other machine with all the stuff. Don't watch any normal TV, only YouTube. I watch a lot of YouTube, and I have about 6 or 7 YouTube channels. So, because I love J-pop and J-rock, so that's all on one. I got all my bird stuff on one. I've got one which is like me, which is really general. I've got the Migrating to Australia one, which was the podcast I used to do, which I'm rejigging. Why are you doing that, Grant? Well, because the government, there's the push on to, Stan, I'll say that. I'll come to that too in a sec. If we're going to reduce, the reason I'm so interested in immigration is because what do we hear all the time about? Oh, we need all these houses, and we need all these new nurses, and we need all these new teachers and everything. Okay, well, we ain't training our own, so how do we get them? We have to get them here through migration. But if they can't bring their families, or there is no prospect of them to bring their families, why would they come here? So we're in this conundrum where it's very, very popular to say we have to reduce migration because. And we're going to solve all the problems about our late stage capitalism and corporate capture by saying to the people who we need to come here to do the jobs that we haven't trained anyone for and that we don't pay people adequately enough to do, we're going to say, come here, but you can't bring any of your extended family. And we're not actually saying they can't. No one's going to say that. We're just preferencing skilled migration. So all of the reunion schemes and bringing extended families and the things where you could bring your parents over because they could look after your kids, there were special visas for all of this stuff. They're just not going to be prioritised. So what we're going to get is a whole lot of single people. Maybe some couples. Maybe if we get both professionals in a couple. But if we're prioritising builders and surveyors and nurses and doctors and secondary school teachers and kindergarten teachers, people with degrees and master's degrees and postdocs, they're not coming here if they have to leave their extended family with that they don't have a prospect of a better life sometime down the track. It's a very unsophisticated conversation we're having about all these issues in Australia. So, yeah. Now Stan says he would not be watching 7, 9 or even the ABC. They're all garbage, yeah. I do dip into particular programs on the ABC. We do watch Home and Away here every night. That's what I generally watch while I'm eating my dinner. I watch Media Watch still, but I watch everything on demand pretty much. I don't. I watch Vera. I love watching Vera. And Stan says he can't stand it. It's all garbage. And he also says the Google News app is great as long as you can curate it and determine what sources you get. Yeah, I agree with that. And I try and do that too. But why I like to see what pops up on my YouTube feed and Google on other accounts, because sometimes you want to see the outrageous story just so you can see what a bad take things are. Okay. So there you go. Monday. That's about it. Tomorrow, midday my time, midday Eastern Standard Time, I am speaking with Nicola Toki or Tokai or Toki. I've asked for a clarification on the pronunciation. I've heard it pronounced different ways on a few different live shows and things that I've watched with Nicola. And we'll be talking about the proposed fast-track legislation in New Zealand, which is aiming to exempt from review and assessment, environmental assessment, major projects like mines and tunnels and roads, but also agricultural pursuits as well from existing environmental legislation. Nicola and a few of the others from Forest and Bird, the Forest and Bird Protection Society in New Zealand, which is 100 years old, I might say. They put a submission and were questioned by a parliamentary committee a week or so back, and I'm going to be talking to Nicola about that. Now, I haven't received confirmation if Nicola is happy for it to be live streamed and to take questions, but I'm hoping that it will be okay. And if it is, midday Australian Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, you'll be able to hear that and join in. Wednesday, Dr. Dave Watson, talking about mistletoes, but also some of the other great work that's going on at Charles Sturt University. Talk about Dr. Dave and his fantastic Twitter bird call recognition spots that he does. Also the trip that he did to Central and South America on behalf of Charles Sturt University recently. So there'll be lots to talk about. There'll be a lot of bird stuff, and also mistletoes are important for birds. That's really why we're at it. So that will be that, and then what else have we got? The following Monday, Gregory Andrews is speaking with me, really about the protesting that he has been doing about climate change and biodiversity, and some of the contact he's had with some of the pollies. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about what's coming up with Gregory. There's a bit of a change in his focus in what has been doing. So there'll be a change on that. We'll talk about that. Oh boy, nothing else is locked in, but boy, there's quite a bit coming on. I just saw Claire Hawkins has liked my repost about Dr. Dave. I'm hoping Claire is coming on to talk about Where We're Wedgie, the citizen science project in Tasmania, identifying where the wedge-tailed eagle, Tasmanian subspecies, is occurring, and also some of the white birds that occur down there. Great citizen science project. So I'm hoping that will happen within a week. So we'll find out. Okay, everyone. Look, Loz is here to say goodbye as well. I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. I'm also a plant nerd. Of course, Habitat Gardening is on 9:30 each Saturday morning at 9:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time at this time of the year. Oh, good on you, Loz. I really got to get that camera on him, so when he does his little dance like he just did, you'll be able to see him. Yeah, you're doing the dance. Good on you. All right, folks. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. That would be the thing that I would like most for you to do. thebirdemergency.com/YouTube. And the second thing I'd like you to do would be to subscribe or subscribe to the podcast or something like that. thebirdemergency.com/podcast. That would be cool. Thanks, Stan. Stan says, thanks, Grant. See you, Loz. See you, Stan. See you, Glenn. Thanks. I always appreciate you commenting. That's great stuff. See ya, everyone. Twitch, Twitter /X, Facebook, and YouTube. Nice to have you aboard. This has been the Bird Emergency, Monday with Grant. We'll see you, well, hopefully tomorrow or Wednesday or Saturday. I'll be here. Hooroo.